There's a man watching this right now who swears he's in control. He thinks he's the exception, that what he has with her, that married woman, is different. He tells himself it's not an affair, it's connection, not a mistake, but destiny with bad timing. He's convinced she's trapped in a loveless marriage, that her husband doesn't appreciate her, that he's the one who finally makes her feel alive. It sounds noble, even romantic, but it's not, because what he doesn't see yet is that he's not in love. He's in withdrawal. Every text, every secret call, every "I wish I met you sooner" is another hit of dopamine. He's chasing a chemical spike, mistaking it for love. And the cruelest part? He's feeding an addiction that's slowly erasing him. What he calls connection is just chemistry. What he calls passion is confusion. And what he's risking everything for was never real to begin with. But this isn't just about him, because every man who's fallen for a woman he can't have has told himself the same story. That this time, it's different. That he is different, until the ending looks exactly the same. By the time this video ends, you'll see the truth behind every affair like this. Why it always feels like fate, and why it always ends in ruin. And more importantly, you'll see why the way out isn't through her, it's through you. Stay until the end, because what you're about to hear won't just expose the illusion, it'll break it. You think you're in control. You think you can handle it. You tell yourself this isn't some messy secret. It's something real, something deep. You swear it's not like the stories you've heard before. But what you've really walked into isn't love. It's a trap built by your own mind, and every step you take only pulls you deeper in. At first, it feels intoxicating. The stolen moments, the rush of secrecy, the way she looks at you like you're the one who finally sees her. You tell yourself it's pure, that it's fate. But what's really happening is chemical. Every text she sends, every "I miss you," every risk you take together releases the same dopamine hit as a drug. You start needing it just to feel normal. And just like any addiction, the highs get shorter, the crashes get longer. You'll swear she's different, that her marriage is cold, that her husband doesn't care. She'll tell you he's distant, controlling, dull. She'll say she's lonely, misunderstood, unloved. You'll believe her because you want to. You want to feel like the hero in her story, like the man who finally saves her from a life of quiet misery. But take a breath. Ask yourself something. If this is love, why are you hiding? Why do you check your phone like a gambler waiting for the next jackpot? Why does the silence hurt like withdrawal? You're not in control. You're hooked. You're addicted to being wanted by someone you can never fully have. And here's the truth you don't want to face. She's not being honest with you or with herself. She needs to see herself as the victim. It's the only way she can justify what she's doing. And you? You're the perfect supporting role. The man who makes her feel alive while she keeps her world intact. It's not romance. It's theater. You're not her co-star. You're part of the set. Maybe she swears she's never done this before. Maybe she cries when she says it. But people don't just wake up one morning and decide to betray everything they built. It starts small. An emotional boundary crossed. A message left unspoken. A conversation that lingers too long. And before long, she's an expert at living two lives. Smiling in one, lying in the other. Think about what kind of person can kiss her kids goodnight, tell her husband she's meeting a friend, then drive across town to you. That's not love. That's compartmentalization, a psychological mask she wears to survive her own guilt. And here's the cruel twist. The longer you stay, the more you become like her. You start lying too. You start splitting yourself in half. You start performing in a story that was never yours to begin with. That's not passion. That's poison. And once it's in your system, even honesty starts to taste like betrayal. Now that you see the trap, let's break down the patterns, because no matter how unique your story feels, it always ends the same way. Different names, different excuses, same heartbreak. Every man who's ever fallen for a married woman has walked one of these 4 paths, and every one of them ends in loss. The first pattern starts with validation. She's not chasing love. She's chasing proof. Proof that she's still wanted. That someone still sees her. Maybe she's turning 40. Maybe her husband stopped complimenting her. Maybe life got dull. Then you show up, looking at her like she's 20 again. You tell her she's beautiful, and she drinks it in like oxygen. You become her mirror, not her man. And when her reflection looks good enough, she leaves. She'll say, "Things are complicated. He's starting to suspect." But what she really means is this: you've served your purpose. Her ego is recharged. And you're just an inconvenience she needs to erase. Then there's the second type, the chaos addict. This one doesn't love you. She loves the story, the secrecy, the risk, the adrenaline. She turns every moment into a movie scene. One week she's leaving him. The next, she's confused. One day she swears you're her soulmate. The next, she's cold as ice. You think she's torn. She's not. She's directing her own drama, and you're just playing your part. She feeds off the emotional spikes, the begging, the crying, the pain. That's when she feels alive. And you're bleeding out for her entertainment. Then comes the third, the illusion of victory. She actually leaves her husband for you, and for a while, it feels like you've won. You waited. You suffered. She chose you. But the moment she's truly yours, everything changes. The thrill dies. The tension vanishes. The forbidden turns ordinary. And suddenly, you're just another man, waking up next to someone who's still searching for something more. She starts to see you the way she once saw him. Bored, irritated, disappointed. Because she never learned how to face her emptiness. She just changed the address of it. And finally, the fourth, the master manipulator. She never plans to leave, and deep down, you know it. But she keeps you on the hook anyway. A text here, a kiss there, a promise of someday. She knows exactly how to keep you waiting, feeding you crumbs while she feasts elsewhere. You become her emotional backup plan, her distraction from reality, her favorite toy she hides in the drawer until she's bored again. Different women, different words, but they all share one thing. They take and you give. You bleed for a dream that never existed. Every one of these stories ends the same way. She goes back to her life, her husband, her comfort. And you're left with silence, guilt, and a question that never stops echoing. How did I fall for this? Here's the answer. Because you didn't fall for her. You fell for the version of yourself you saw in her eyes. By now, you've probably figured it out. This isn't love. It's addiction wearing perfume. You're not bound by emotion. You're hooked by chemistry. Every message, every secret, every little "I miss you" lights up your brain like a slot machine. You pull the lever again and again, praying for another hit. Because when she disappears, your body doesn't ache from heartbreak. It aches from withdrawal. That's the cruel part. You think she's your soulmate, but she's really your dealer. She hands you emotional highs, spaced just far enough apart to keep you chasing. Sometimes she's warm, soft, attentive. Other times she's cold, distant, untouchable. You never know what you'll get. And that uncertainty, that unpredictability, is exactly what keeps you hooked. You mistake that tension for passion. You mistake pain for proof. The more she pulls away, the more your brain convinces you that this is something rare, something worth fighting for. But what you're really fighting is your own biology. You've been conditioned, trained to crave her chaos. Every small reward, every random text, every sudden kiss hits harder because it's scarce. That's not romance. That's intermittent reinforcement, the same psychological loop that keeps gamblers at the table long after they've lost everything. And here's what she knows, consciously or not. She knows how to feed that loop. She knows how to vanish just long enough for you to miss her, how to reappear right before you move on. She knows her silence hurts you, and that pain is her leverage. Because when she gives you relief, when she finally answers, when she finally says, "I love you," your brain lights up like fireworks. That's how she keeps control. That's why you can't stop. But there's a cost to living like that. Constant adrenaline, constant guilt, constant waiting for the next hit. It rewires you. You start to confuse drama with depth, intensity with intimacy. You start believing that peace is boring. You stop trusting calm because calm feels empty after chaos. And slowly, you start becoming like her. You learn to lie, to hide, to justify, to survive inside a story that's eating you alive. And when it ends, because it always ends, the crash is brutal. You don't just lose her. You lose the version of yourself you became to keep her. The late nights, the lies, the thrill, the guilt, it all collapses. And you're left staring at the wreckage, wondering when you stopped recognizing the man in the mirror. You thought you were in love, but you were just chasing a high. She wasn't your destiny. She was your addiction. And the truth is, you were never in a relationship. You were in recovery from the lie you helped build. You're not heartbroken. You're in rehab. And then it happens. The silence. The one you always knew was coming, but refused to believe in. One day she stops replying. The texts slow down. The warmth fades. The excuses start to sound mechanical. Busy, tired, stressed. But you feel it. You feel her slipping away. The story you built your entire emotional life around begins to crumble, one unanswered message at a time. At first, you panic. You tell yourself it's temporary. You invent reasons for her distance. You scroll through old pictures, reread her words, trying to taste the high again. But the truth hits hard. She's gone. Not always physically, but emotionally. And that emptiness you feel isn't heartbreak, it's withdrawal. The drug has been cut off. You wake up reaching for your phone like it's oxygen. You open the chat you swore you'd ignore. You stare at her name, waiting for a message that will never come. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You're haunted by the echoes of a voice that doesn't belong to you anymore. You think you're mourning love, but you're really detoxing from the chaos that once made you feel alive. You can't tell anyone what's happening. Who would understand? You weren't supposed to fall for her. You can't even grieve in public, because in everyone else's version of the story, you're the villain. You're the one who broke the rules. So you carry it alone. The guilt, the shame, the silence. You become your own punishment. Meanwhile, she moves on. She goes home. She smiles for pictures. She sits at the same dinner table she's always sat at. Maybe she feels guilty for a while. Maybe she doesn't. But she keeps living because she still has her family, her comfort, her safety net. You were never the story. You were just the escape scene she'll edit out of her life. And as you fall apart, something darker happens inside you. You lose your reflection. You start to question everything, your morals, your worth, your sanity. You stop trusting yourself because you realize how easy it was to lie, how easy it was to fall, how easy it was to betray what you thought you stood for. That's when the truth hits hardest. You didn't just lose her. You lost the man you were before her. The man who believed in love, loyalty, and truth. The man who could look himself in the mirror without shame. Now, you see someone else staring back. A man shaped by secrecy, defined by guilt, addicted to something that was never real. And that's when it all collapses. The fantasy, the lies, the identity you built around her. Everything you thought you were dies with it. But in that wreckage, buried under the shame and silence, something else begins to stir. And that's where the real story begins. When everything finally falls apart, silence becomes your teacher. It's strange how something that once felt unbearable slowly starts to sound like truth. The pain doesn't disappear, but it changes shape. It stops screaming and starts whispering. And what it whispers is simple. This was never about her. It was always about you. You stop asking why she left. You start asking why you stayed. Why you ignored the voice in your gut. Why you kept believing her when every part of you already knew the ending. The truth hurts, but not because she betrayed you. It hurts because you betrayed yourself. You traded peace for passion. You gave up your integrity for an illusion. You called it love because calling it addiction would have forced you to stop. That's the moment you start to wake up. The world feels heavier, quieter, more honest. You delete her number. You block her on everything. And still, you reach for your phone at 2 a.m., hoping to see her name light up. But it doesn't. And that's when you finally understand. This isn't heartbreak. It's detox. You're not missing her. You're missing the version of yourself that existed in the fantasy. At first, the emptiness feels unbearable. You'll try to fill it with work, with distractions, with other women, with anything that numbs the noise. But nothing sticks, because you can't escape a lesson that was meant to wake you up. The silence is your rehab. It's stripping away the parts of you that needed lies to feel alive. And slowly, you start to see what real love should look like. It's steady, not chaotic. It's safe, not secret. It's the kind that doesn't need to hide to exist. You realize that peace isn't boring. It's freedom. That truth isn't weakness. It's clarity. If you're married, your awakening cuts deeper. You start to see what your choices did to someone who trusted you. The shame is heavy, but it's honest. Don't run from it. Let it break you open, because that's how men change. Not when they're proud, but when they're humbled. You can't erase what happened, but you can rebuild. You can face yourself without flinching. You can decide that the man who lied, who hid, who chased destruction, that man dies here. And the man who walks forward, he's different. He's slower to chase and quicker to listen. He's not perfect, but he's real. That's what awakening is. Not a miracle, not revenge, not forgiveness. Just finally seeing the truth and choosing to live in it. Every story like this ends with a choice, not hers, yours. Because she already made hers long before you realized it. She chose safety. She chose comfort. She chose to protect her image, her routine, her carefully curated life, even if it meant destroying yours. The illusion is over. The only question left is what you're going to do next. You can keep pretending it was love. You can keep replaying the moments when she looked at you like you were everything. You can keep checking your phone, waiting for the ghost to return. But you already know how that story ends. It ends the same way it always does, with you waiting for a woman who's never really coming back. Because she doesn't miss you. She misses the way you made her feel, and you don't love her. You love the way she made you feel about yourself. So now you have a decision to make. Stay stuck in that endless loop of illusion, or step out of it. The truth is, choosing yourself won't feel heroic. It won't feel cinematic. It'll feel like withdrawal, like standing in the middle of an empty room after a storm. It'll feel cold, quiet, lonely. But that's where healing starts. You have to reclaim your own peace, delete her number, block her everywhere. Not to punish her, but to free yourself. Every contact, every message, every glimpse at her world drags you back into the quicksand. Don't chase closure. It doesn't exist. Closure is what happens when you stop needing answers. When you stop trying to rewrite the ending and start writing a new story. Tell someone what happened. Say it out loud. Shame feeds on silence. The moment you speak it, it starts to die. And you'll realize something powerful. You're not a monster. You're a man who made a mistake. A man who let his pain lead him somewhere dark. But now, you're also a man with a choice. To either stay there or climb out. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. It's the moment you remember that your worth doesn't come from being someone's secret. It comes from being someone's truth. Real strength isn't in fighting for her. It's in walking away. Real courage isn't in waiting to be chosen. It's in choosing yourself when every part of you still craves the lie. Because love without honesty isn't love. It's dependence. And the second you stop confusing the two, you start to heal. One day, you'll look back on this moment and realize it was the turning point. The day you stopped begging to be chosen and decided to choose yourself. That's the real ending of this story. Not destruction, not loss. Liberation. One day, you'll wake up and she won't be the first thought in your mind. Her name won't burn. Her memory won't sting. You'll feel the quiet, and for the first time, it won't scare you. It'll feel like peace. You'll walk outside, breathe in the air, and realize you're not waiting anymore. Not for her call, not for her attention, not for her approval. The chaos is gone, and what's left is something stronger. Stillness. That's how freedom feels. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. You'll stop chasing the kind of love that needs hiding. You'll stop confusing intensity with intimacy. You'll stop giving your worth to people who can't hold it. And when real love finally finds you, honest, open, and whole, you'll recognize it instantly. Because it won't feel like a high. It'll feel like truth. That's the moment you'll understand. This was never about her. It was never about revenge, or guilt, or closure. It was always about you, remembering your value, reclaiming your peace, and finally choosing yourself. Because that's what freedom really is. Not walking away from her, but coming home to you.